FM 96.7, 101.7 KBBE, McPherson, Salina.
Newfeld's Variety in Inman is an old-fashioned variety store full of all kinds of neat things. Things for mom and dad, like Hallmark cards for all occasions, and Russell Stover candies. For the kids, needed items for school and play. Newfeld's is your Shackley dealer for our area, too. Here's Sonia to tell you more.
Hi, this is Sonia. We've got belts, earrings, fall accessories, and all of those little extras. Come and see us at Newfeld's Variety in Inman.
That's Newfeld's Variety Store in downtown Inman. Open Thursday nights till 7 p.m.
Never have sunlight on your face. sleep. It will never be better than right now if you're looking for new bedding for your home. Burgett's Furniture at 112 North Main in McPherson is right in the middle of a huge odds and ends bedding sale. Sealy model closeout, one half price sale on Citation, Carlisle, and Comfort Flex sets. Burgett's custom Imperial twin sets, only $198. Full sets, $248. Queen sets, $318. Aqua Health, water and conventional bedding. The latest looks exactly like regular bedding. Queen style, $5.99. King, only $7.49. And Sealy Luxury Pillow Top, Justice Regency, the ultimate in luxurious foam bedding. Full set, only $5.88. Queen set, $6.88, and King set, $7.88, with 20-year warranty. Burgett's Furniture, with you in mind during this big bedding sale at 112 North Main in downtown McPherson.
maybe they're hectic up there. The operator up here on top of the Lindsborg News record is going to be Jim Anderson. Jim Anderson. And you're down off the end, all right? Here's Jim.
KBBE McPherson Salina, 10 minutes away from 10 o'clock in the morning. We've got clear and about 59 degrees currently in McPherson. And we've got the Hyllningsfest parade getting ready to start in Lindsborg this morning. And we've got several of the guys from KNGL and KBBE live up there on the scene. And things are getting underway for the parade. And here with the live broadcast of the parade are the fellows from the radio station, guys.
Maybe she'll let you. Good morning, and welcome to Lindsborg. In other words, welcome to Lindsborg. We are bringing you live broadcasts of the 48th Svensk Hyllningsfest.
We'll call it the 48th year. Actually, when the Hyllningsfest started in 1941, there have been, since that time, there have been several times when we've had a Hyllningsfest every year and a period of time when we have not had any Hyllningsfest. So it's the 48th year.
And with me, John Pearson, John Pearson, actually, and you're director of
College Relations at Bethany College, and we do a lot of extra projects, right, Lou?
We certainly do. 16 years of Lindsborg Town Talk, for one thing. And on the street is Jerry and Diane Davies, and they're going to be doing some interviews here pre-parade. Jerry and Diane, well, to bring it to you.
Okay, thank you, Lou. Diane and I are down here on the street. What a beautiful day. We've got a lot of sun down here and a lot of people. I would guess looking up and down the street, we're looking at about 25 to maybe 35,000 people.
I would say so, Jerry, and it's been exciting as we were driving into Lindsborg this morning to see all the nice charter big buses coming in from Colorado and outside the street.
We're going to be going down the street here in a little bit, and we're going to try to get some of the businesses down to talk to us during the course of the day. We'll try to get them down here. We are also KBBE and the news record. Marty, what a great thing.
Million thanks to Marty Hardy and the Lindsborg News Record. And of course, it's always been John Pearson and his professionalism at Bethany College. We couldn't do anything without John and Marty.
For those of you that are listening on the radio, we have our cable television here in Lindsborg recording the parade for us today. We're also broadcasting it live on Channel 4 here in the Lindsborg area. We're sitting right in front of the Lindsborg News Record. And you know, it's kind of weird in radio. You never get to really show your call letters. But today, Diane and I are wearing our call letters. We've got a blue shirt and a red shirt with our call letters on it.
Should I be honest and say that because I didn't have enough time to sew an authentic Swedish costume?
That's very honest, Diane. Okay, let's go back up to Lou and John now, and they're going to run down the parade and tell us all about the various floats and all the people that are going to be in it. In the meantime, I'll get down to the bandstand down here and see if we can't find us some people there to talk to during the course of the parade. Back to you, John and Lou.
Thank you, Jerry and Diane. And Diane, I can't believe you didn't have time to make a Swedish costume. I don't believe that for a minute. John, this is a 3-day festival celebration honoring the Swedish-American pioneers who settled this area some 100 years ago. And let's talk a little bit about the events and activities, some of the special performing groups that are here for the 3-day celebration. I know that there are 7 groups from outside of Lindsborg area, and that's not to mention the Lindsborg originated folk dancing and whatnot, but there are 7 groups some of them from Sweden.
That's correct, Lou. And actually, as we talk about the event, I think it's very appropriate, Lou, that we mention that this festival begins with a Union Church service here in Lindsborg, because after all, when these Swedish Americans here in the Smoky Valley began this festival in 1941, it first was to be a festival that was to honor Coronado. They had found some relics, around the area here, and they knew that the Coronado had come here in 1541, and there was some attention to that anniversary and finding those relics. So they really thought this would be a Coronado festival. And then when the organizers of the festival, it was headed up by and large by Dr. William Alwerda, a physician here in Lindsborg, and then others quickly joined them for the celebration. It began in 1941, and since the beginning, this festival has begun with a church service. That may sound like just another religious activity, but it really is a time when we philosophically talk again about why we're doing this. And it was no exception this year, as Reverend Emmett Johnson with the National Office of the American Baptist Church, the 6 churches in Lindsborg rotate every 2 years during the festival in holding that pre-festival or that opening festival church service, always held at Beth Lutheran Church because of the numbers. So we begin and end with the church service, and it really is a time when philosophically we think why we're doing this. Now, it's true that since we opened the festival Thursday night and had yesterday's activities, there are 7 groups that come in from outside, so to speak, to help us in special entertainment. The association is the main one. The association at 8 o'clock this evening. Are the tickets still available? Tickets are still available. Tickets are still available for reserved seating, and the tickets can be obtained at the Chamber of Commerce.
Are you still down there?
And there are a number of other places around the territory where you can get the reserved seat tickets for that concert tonight at 8 o'clock in Presser Hall Auditorium on the campus of Bethany College. That concert is sponsored, of course, by the Svensk Hyllningsfest Coordinating Committee that puts together activities you'll be seeing during these 3 days. And the association is the primary one. We also have a number of other groups from Sweden, as you mentioned. Caraccio is a trio from Sweden, and they were very popular here for the Midsummer's Day in June. And we wonderful folk, jazz, contemporary type music. Right, and it's something different from many of the Swedish groups that we oftentimes have. We think of just the typical folk dancing and the kind of music that comes out of the Stillman's Log or the Fiddlers of Sweden. It is a popular group. There is
anybody reading me?
Out of Sweden, and I think that as we look at the Scandinavian heritage, we should think of both contemporary times as well as historical times. So Caraccia will be one of those performing groups coming from Sweden. We have an accordion club, and Lou, I'm not so sure I should attempt to say that Swedish name there, but Hamranga, Hamra, and the Angerstand is above that A, the little circle above the A-N-G-E. I think it's Hamranga is close. And the Drug Spells Club, have you heard a better pronunciation on that? Never have I heard a better pronunciation. All right, let's call it the Swedish Accordion Club, because that's what it is. It's a group of accordion players from Sweden, and they performed yesterday at 4 o'clock, and there will be other times. They also performed in front of the smorgasbord that we had yesterday evening on the campus of Bethany College, sponsored by the Coordinating Committee for Svensk Hyllningsfest. There were a number of entertainers. As people waited in line, they were one of the entertainers for that. So those are 3 of the groups coming from Sweden. In addition to that, we have, of course, Madeline Christofferson, a Swedish operatic singer, and I think we should say more than an opera singer. She had a recital and a decibel concert at 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock last evening. She's around today for just a few minutes before she has to go back to New York. She is from the Swedish Royal Opera. She is a graduate of the Juilliard School of Music in New York City. She has given her U.S. debut at the Newport Music Festival, and she will also be singing at Carnegie later this year, Carnegie Hall, for that debut. She's a very fine singer, and we enjoyed that concert. There were many things going on yesterday. As we thought about those numbers, let's get back and talk about that later, but it's really amazing, the number of activities at one time. In addition to Madeline Christofferson coming from Sweden, of course, then we have a number of groups here from this region. The Gulf Coast Swedish dancers are very popular for their style shows. I understand that they're going to be at the Soderstrom School Gymnasium doing a style show this year rather than actual performance, and that will be interesting. And that'll be at 1 o'clock this afternoon, a Swedish fashion show, and it'll be repeated at other times during the day. The Swedish fashion show is costumes and songs from the Swedish provinces presented by the Gulf Coast Scandinavian Club. It is in the Soderstrom School at 227 North Washington. That's just 1 block west of the downtown area, the staging area, and the Hemslöjd there in the downtown area. We should mention while we're talking about these other groups, though, too, that many times it's groups out of Lindsborg that are helping put this on. The American Scandinavian Association of the Great Plains is showing the Swedish Viking films that they have purchased the rights for, and also some of the New Sweden 88 tapes were put together last year for the 350th anniversary of the landing of the Swedes in the Delaware Valley. And they are showing those right across the street there at the City Council chamber, and that went on yesterday afternoon and all day today and tomorrow afternoon also.
And we might mention that we have a great panoramic view of the parade, and we thank Marty Hardy at the Lindsborg News Record.
I didn't know she had this kind of viewing stand.
I didn't either. It's wonderful. So we thank Marty for her efforts, and also Multivision for providing the video portion. And by the way, we will be broadcasting live on your local cable channel 4, and rebroadcast times will be announced later this week.
Okay, right. So this is something new. We've done this for many years, haven't we, Lou? Sitting in Tom Knight's office there on North Main Street. We're in South Main Street here, just half a block away from the viewing stand. And so the perspective, as people may be listening, the perspective is coming from left for the parade floats and the procession of the parade to our right. We are across from the Lindsborg Community Library.
And people have said that Lindsborg is more Swedish than Sweden on this.
We won't say that all the time, but the Swedes tell us that, so we will demur and say could very well be. Now, I think you know what they're saying when they say that. We have taken some of the old-time Swedish customs and the folk ways of doing some things, preserved them, and have them lively here as part of our lifestyle. This still is Swedish-American. This still is prairie architecture in downtown Lindsborg. It is many times as Americans and Swedes. If you take a look at the flagpoles, there's a Swedish flag and a U.S. flag at the same time. So I always like to say we may be more Swedish than Sweden with preservation of some of the old-time customs and such, but we still are Swedish-American.
Getting back to some more of the entertainment from outside Lindsborg, we do have lectures on Swedish folklore and music from Sweden.
By the way, Lou, do we have our balloon up there? Or is that a plane that's going to give us aerial perspective? Can we cut into them? No cameras up there. Okay, no cameras up there.
Well, we'll do that in 2 years for the 50th anniversary.
Sorry for bothering you there, Lou, as you were saying. And I think they're telling us that we got to look a little more towards the camera. So, okay. We got some, in addition to KNGL broadcast, we also have some people that are watching us on local cable here in Lindsborg.
And Kirsten Brorson is going to be giving a lecture on trolls, and Bart Rogers.
Yeah, right. Okay. That's her son.
I'm glad you're here for the pronunciation. He's going to do keyed fiddle, cow horn, and birch horn demonstration.
And Kirsten Brorson, when she was here, it was Kirsten Brashears, but Kirsten Brorson is a very fine expert in some of the Dalecarlia traditions. Her home originally was in Dalarna province of Sweden, and Kirsten is a very knowledgeable person on some of the immigrant letters that were written in the 19th century. She also is an authority on some of the traditions in Dalarna, especially in her book, Sing the Cows Home, as the people would bring their cows up in the summertime to the higher elevations and then bring them down again. There would be those cabins up there. We'd have to get the exact names from Kirsten, but there's some traditions that she has talked about that are very fascinating. A number of different programs that she's put together, but this time will be untold.
And there is something for everyone's interest.
Something for everyone.
Three-day celebration. In addition, Richard Renner, who is a mime, clown, acrobat, and vaudevillian, is here for the 3 days.
That's kind of the European tradition, Lou. In European festivals, there oftentimes are mimes and clowns and acrobats, and for a number of festivals now, we have had a person like that to help entertain those, especially in the downtown area, between acts, and to help us liven up some of the crowds, and especially the kids. I think they enjoy the sounds especially.
And to accommodate the numbers of people, there are two main areas for entertainment at Main and Lincoln, where Jerry and Diane will be, and we'll be cutting into them. And also at Swenson Park this year, there'll be several activities.
This was added as a second performance area at Swenson Park on North Main Street because we we needed additional performance areas as people wanted to watch the downtown area, and then we had additional entertainers around, and some of them said, okay, I've seen enough folk dancing for now, let's have something else. So we'll be having band concerts and a number of performances at the Svensk Park. We should say, Lou, that people really ought to obtain one of those copies of the program schedule at the information booth. There are 2 information booths right across from Farmer State Bank in the downtown area and across from the Chamber of Commerce right on the east side of the downtown main stage area. And they can pick up those tabloids that the News Record has provided without charge for those who want to pick those up.
And a $2 support button will gain admittance to just about everything.
We call it the enclosed areas. That's the way of asking people to help us in some of the expenses. It's a lot of money, thousands of dollars that it takes to help with some of the provision for transportation for entertainment, for the entertainers to come, for the things like porta potties. We talk about that, but it's expensive to put that up. The rental of the tents, the kinds of things you don't even think about that are part of the expenses of this, as well as the brochures that go out ahead of time. A number of expenses that just have to be paid to put on a festival. So we ask people to buy that support button for $2, and that will admit them to all the enclosed areas, the tents, the food demonstrations, the arts and crafts tents, and those areas are enclosed. And we do appreciate them going with us this year, as that has been added as part of the festival.
The thing that is wonderful about Lindsborg is the community support, the volunteer time and effort that goes in for the spirit of welcoming people to the community, I think is wonderful. And this year, Bill Taylor and Frida Woodard were co-chairs for the festival, I understand, and maybe you could address more specifically some of the other people involved in organizing the festival.
Yes, the co-chairs, of course, are the ones that probably work the hardest of anybody in this festival. And I know as many people in Lindsborg have a number of guests as they have house guests, and we enjoy that. It's a wonderful time to have open house in the community. It adds a lot of flavor to it. But it does put time pressures on people as they're putting together floats and have the booths and such. And many times I think we think of all the work that goes into the festival. There isn't anybody works harder than those co-chairs, the general co-chairs, this time Frida Woodard and Bill Taylor Jr. In addition to that, the Hyllningsfest Committee has as its secretary Betty Hunter. The treasurer is Joreen O'Lean. Arts and Crafts co-chairs are Nancy Peterson and Sarah Shugren. The parade co-chairs, and the handiwork of their efforts is going to be coming by here in just a few minutes. The parade co-chairs, Jim Berg and Bill Brock. Program committee co-chairs. The program committee is the committee that is in correspondence with those that make sure we do have people like the association and the Vaudevillian Clown and those other special programs that are put together. They've also worked with the American Scandinavian Association for those videotapes that are being shown during the festival. All the programs. Publicity committee, publicity and information committee, John Pearson and Marty Hardy. Marty Hardy, of course, the editor of the Lindsborg News Record. She's downstairs, right below us in the lower level here of our grandstand viewing area. And Marty Hardy has done a lot of work in helping us make sure that the world knows that we're having such a thing as the Svensk Hyllningsfest.
And the world does know, indeed.
I think so. I think we told more than we thought we were going to tell here, looking out on the parade route. And then, of course, the smorgasbord co-chairs. And that also takes many, many volunteers, hundreds of volunteers. If you think about the donated food, we do have to buy more food now than we used to because we aren't able to get quite as many of the items that we used to get from clubs and such, but we still have a number of volunteers that help make some of the specialized food.
Now, John, I'm going to ask you a personal question. Did you eat lutefisk last night?
No, we don't have lutefisk on this smorgasbord. That question did come up. That question did come up. We had farmlawn korv or patatas korv, and of course we had sill and the herring, and we had the Swedish meatballs and the brown beans and all of that, and we had the menu in both Swedish and English on the tables. They served a little bit over 1,200 people. Those tickets for that smorgasbord, of course, are sold out usually within a week to 10 days when they go on sale June 1st. And there were long, long lines of waiting lists for the people who wanted tickets. $12.50 for the smorgasbord tickets. We could serve many more than that if we had room. We just don't have room for that. And we're sorry about that, but not everybody can have that smorgasbord experience. But there'll be plenty of other ways of having food here during the festival. Food court across from the Farmer State Bank. In addition to Galen Cheney and Wanda Esping for the smorgasbord co-chairs, Doreen Anderson is an ex-officio member of the committee as the executive secretary of the Lindsborg Chamber of Commerce. And the Bethany College student representative is Shannon Rothschild, a senior from Smith Center, Kansas. And as Student Congress Vice President, he is the one that has helped to put together the campus committee activities for homecoming and Svensk Hyllningsfest. As you know, Lou, Hyllningsfest is held in the biennial odd-numbered years when we have the Bethany College homecoming. Looks like we're about ready here with the start of the parade. And Lou, how do we get going here? So we just start mentioning the American Legion Color Guard will be following right behind the law enforcement agencies, the Lindsborg Police Department as the first vehicle. And of course we have a new police chief now, Gary Mager, a very fine police chief, and I think in Lindsborg we're very happy to have the professionalism and the assistance that he is bringing to that position. McPherson County Sheriff behind, and the Kansas Highway Patrol.
And we do want to mention the sponsors that have made our broadcast today possible. They are the Farmers State Bank of Lindsborg, Anderson Hayes Funeral Home, the Courtyard Bakery and Lundstrom's Coffee and Gourmet Food, the Swedish Country Inn, Hanson Clothing, the Lindsborg Pizza Hut, and the Lindsborg News Record. John, this
you reading me yet?
Hyllningsfest Parade 1989 is Once Upon a Time in the Great Smoky Valley.
And we will see that theme demonstrated in many, many ways before we're through this morning here. Once upon a time in the Great Smoky Valley. Now here comes the American Legion Color Guard. And, of course, the American Legion Color Guard has been a part of the Hyllningsfest Committee parade for a long time. The Swedish Consul General is in the next float, Lob Johnson, and this is his first trip to Lindsborg, Lou. He's the Consul General of Sweden, based in Chicago. We're in the territory that he covers. There are consulates also that have offices in Minneapolis, and there are sub-consulates in Kansas City and other areas, but Lob Johnson is the Consul General for this area. Beata Sidhoff, Cultural Counselor for the Swedish Embassy in Washington, D.C., and she's in a 1911 Model T owned by Quentin Applequist. We should say the first one, the Hupmobile, was owned by Quentin Applequist also, that Lob Johnson was riding in. Horses in the Surrey, owned by Clarence King Jr. of Salina, Kansas, Svensk Hyllningsfest royalty. The King, Hugo Lindahl, and the Queen, his wife, Dorothy Lindahl. This is the second time in history we've had man and wife as King and Queen. Hugo Lindahl has been a member of this committee also, by the way. Svensk Hyllningsfest Committee co-chairs, and there you see Bill and
Taylor, Frida, and Joel Woodard.
Right, Bill Taylor and Frida Woodard, and of course Sonia Taylor and their family. The committee co-chairs. The co-chairs, as we said, and the committee have been working for 2 years to work for this festival, and I think that it takes about that long to get ready.
I'm sure that it does, and like we said, it is a cooperative community support, and
a lot of people in the region, too.
And I imagine it does take 2 years to plan a festival like this. Again, we want to mention our sponsors for today's broadcast. The Farmers State Bank of Lindsborg, your full-service bank serving the Great Smoky Valley and its residents for over 100 years, member FDIC. And the Anderson Hayes Funeral Home, Harlan and Willie Hayes, Lonnie Bloomberg, and Earl Allstat welcome you to Lindsborg and this year's Svensk Hyllningsfest. And the Courtyard Bakery and Lundstrom's Coffee and Gourmet Foods at 125 North Main at Lindsborg in the courtyard, where you find old world charm in a new world setting. They invite you to their Christmas open house on Sunday, November 19th from 1 to 5. Other sponsors include the Swedish Country Inn, which is an authentic Swedish bed and breakfast featuring private bath and television in every room and Scandinavian buffet breakfast. And Hanson Clothing, your quality clothing store now in their 62nd year of family ownership at 130 North Main in Lindsborg. The Lindsborg Pizza Hut, and Littlefoot is going to be in the parade this year. We'll watch for him. And the Lindsborg News Record, dedicated to encourage cultural growth in the Smoky Valley area. And we do want to thank them for allowing us to be rooftop and have a panoramic view so we can give you play-by-play of this morning's parade.
That's a fine list of sponsors, Lou, and we do appreciate their help in this and many other ways that the merchants of Lindsborg and those who have retail and other activities in Lindsborg also share of resources to make sure that events like this come off. The Swedish Country Inn, of course, was constructed in the former Carlton Hotel. It was a Besson College dormitory at one point, and the Clinton Applequist have done an excellent job of restoring that to make it a special place indeed. There are always a lot of cars from out of state and around here, and it is authentically Swedish. Right, with furniture and all. Now, Lou, we do have coming the Soderstrom Elementary School Band, Jay Steinberg, director, and they'll be playing the Swedish national anthem, Du gamla du fria. Soderstrom Elementary School Band, written by Jay Steinberg, and of course the band members are in their Swedish costume. Always a popular band. I think that you would have to go a long way to find a junior high band that can play as well as the Soderstrom Elementary School Band.
Enormously colorful band, too.
Behind the Soderstrom Elementary Band, we have a 1936 Plymouth owned by Quentin Alpquist, and the first of a very long list of dignitaries. We have now the Honorable Don Anderson, Mayor of Lindsborg, and he's in that 1936 Plymouth owned by Quentin Alpquist. Don Anderson is a fine mayor. I think that we always like our mayor in Lindsborg, but he's bringing a professionalism and a spirit, a fun spirit to city government that we really enjoy. His medal there is made by John Whitfield, and we've had a lot of fun with that special medal he has around his neck. That's his wife next to him, Doreen Anderson. And then next, 1926 Whip, owned by Carl Rundquist of Salina, Kansas, Honorable Robert Steffen, the Attorney General for the state of Kansas. And the 1965 Pontiac, owned by Larry Shaw, Topeka, Kansas, which is carrying the Honorable Joseph C. Harder, Senator for this district for the...
Anybody reading me? This is Jim up on the roof.
Honorable Joseph C. Harder. 1957 Pontiac, owned by Dorothy Shaw, Topeka, Kansas. The Honorable Dale Sprague, State Representative, Kansas Representative for our area. Dale Sprague, of course, a resident of McPherson City, but works very, very well for those of us who want representation, a number of issues in Topeka, and we do appreciate the way he brings representation to that office. 1957 Pontiac, owned by Dorothy Shaw of Topeka, Kansas, Honorable Dale Sprague. 1965 Ford Mustang, owned by Delbert Chop of Salina, Kansas, and that is carrying the Honorable Larry Turnquist, State Representative. The Honorable Larry Turnquist, which of course is the area just north of Lindsborg and includes part of the Smoky Valley here of southern Saline County and northern McPherson County. Larry Turnquist has many, many connections with this community and is a state representative in the Kansas House of Representatives. 1930 Model A, owned by Delbert Chop of Salina, Kansas, Honorable John C. Magnuson, County Commissioner, one of the 3 county commissioners for McPherson County. And now comes the 1912 Model T touring car, owned by Paul Peel of Lindsborg, carrying the Honorable Tony Weddle, County Commissioner.
These are great-looking old automobiles.
Aren't they, though? Didn't know we had retained so many old automobiles. And these are classics. They're well-preserved and well-restored. We have a lot of interest in that, Lou. McPherson College has a very fine program for they do restore automobiles. 1930 Ford Roadster, owned by Roscoe Swenson of Salina, Kansas, carrying the Honorable Dean Bacon, County Commissioner, the 3rd County Commissioner for McPherson County. 1930 Ford Roadster, Honorable Dean Bacon, County Commissioner. We now have a list of mayors coming, Luke.
Okay, Tom.
1930 Ford Coupe, owned by Marilyn Swenson, Salina, Kansas, carrying the Assyria mayor, Theodore Lindgren. of Bennington, Kansas, which will be carrying Galva's mayor, Wayne Ford, coming into view now, right to the left of the screen for those who are watching cable television. Galva mayor, Wayne Ford.
How many people would you estimate are here today, John?
You know, we used to try to do that. Count back 5 deep and the number of feet and all, and I don't know. We talked about that. We said maybe let's just forget about this quantification. That we say 35,000 people coming over the 3 days, and it's too hard. There's too many events, and counting them is just a guess. The thousands loose. I think that over the festival, we will be having many, many thousand people, but it's just, we hope that everybody individually has a good time.
Well, that's the important thing.
1964 Ford, owned by Carol Winslow, McPherson, Kansas, the Inman mayor, Nick Schmidt. Coming into view right behind Wayne Ford. Wayne Ford, Galva mayor, Inman mayor, Nick Schmidt. Okay, now we'll be having the Marquette mayor, 1930 Model A, owned by Leroy Peterson, Lindsborg, Kansas. Marquette mayor, Scott Johnson, a very important part of the Smoky Valley. Marquette is part of the USD 400 public schools here, and of course we have, in addition to Lindsborg, we have Marquette, Roxbury, and Fallen, the Salinsburg area, Smolin. The communities around here as part of northern McPherson County and southern Saline County, and just right on over to the corner of Ellsworth and Rice County.
And this is, in fact, a celebration of the Swedish pioneers who settled the area some, well, over 100 years ago.
That's correct, and that's the main focus, so we have a lot of fun while we do it. Mayor of Marquette, I believe has gone out of the screen, but going to by right in front of our viewing stand now, the mayor of Marquette, Scott Johnson. And now, just coming into view, a 1931 Model A sports coupe owned by Jeff Kroll, and that is carrying McPherson's mayor, Paul Zeke Anderson. Our list doesn't have Zeke on there, but we all know him as Zeke Anderson.
Right.
And Paul Anderson, of course, has a lot of Lindsborg Bethany College connections. He even is a past president of the Bethany College Alumni Association. And we enjoy his Swedish jokes very much on occasion. I don't know if he tells those as mayor or not, but a very personable mayor, that's for sure. Mayor Paul Anderson. 1930 Model A, how do you pronounce that?
Cabriolet.
Cabriolet, owned by Jimmy McPherson, Lindsborg. Salida's mayor, Joseph Warner. And then we have a 1929 Model A War Roadster owned by Cyril Habiger of Salina, carrying the Smolin mayor, Joe Petty, mayor of Smolin, Kansas. Does that mean when you're mayor of Smolin then will become governor of the state? You know, John Carlin, a graduate of Lindsborg Rural High School, now of course Smoky Valley High School, a resident of Smolin who has been our governor in the past. We're very proud of what he has done for the state.
And Smolin is a town in Sweden, or a province?
A province in southern Sweden. 1930 Model A coupe owned by Quentin Swenson, Salina, Kansas. The Wyndham mayor, Bill Creed. Bill Creed, the Wyndham mayor. And now, in the Ford Mustang, I think that's going to be the mayor of Hallville, Lower Montgomery. And Hallville is not much of a community anymore. It's up to the northeast of Lindsborg, but figures prominently in some of the traditions of Smoky Valley.
John, and that's the 1st Infantry Division Band from Fort Riley, Kansas.
Right. We did have one extra car in there, and that was people with the Corn Growers Association, was not on the list. The 1st Infantry Division Band, Fort Riley, Kansas, directed by Brian Benson, the director, and it is always fine to have the active military unit in the parade. Infantry division band has been part of the parade at Svensk Hyllningsfest and the Svensk Hyllningsfest homecoming, Bethany College homecoming parade for a number of years. And I think that they go to extra work to make sure that they can always be part of this parade. They'll be performing for us here in a minute. You see the clowns over there to the side of the band also. We have had our own Everhart presentation of clowns. I think that that's been part of the festival long before we would bring in outside groups for the clown vaudeville party. And the next star is Santa Lucia, Kaisa Lindholm. Santa Lucia, which is a kind of queen for the Christmas season. December 13th, Santa Lucia, a tradition in both Sweden and in Lindsborg. The car is furnished by Lacey Regier Motor Company of McPherson. Kaisa Lindholm. And then now we have the association. Elmer Copley is the driver in his convertible. The association will be performing this evening at 8 o'clock in Press Auditorium, and tickets are still available. Lou, this group, the association, plays a kind of folk rock music that I think everybody will enjoy. It is a fine musical event, and we do appreciate the association as they have been part of this Svensk Hyllningsfest for 1989. Behind them, the float. Once upon a time, in the Great Smoky Valley, we rode dollar horses to Lindsborg Play School. Teachers Debbie Johnson, Kathy Toll, and Suzanne Sandbo. The children made many of the decorations for this float. Look at the dollar horses and the Swedish costumes and all the children in the Lindsborg Play School.
What suppose they did ride dollar horses back then?
Oh, yes. Those tailless ponies. Now, the Belleville High School Band. It's the honor band for the 1989 Svensk Hyllningsfest Parade. Carol Kucher. Kucher is a alumnus at Bethany College, and he'll be bringing his band for halftime of the Bethany College Southwestern football game this afternoon. Belleville High School Band. That is a 3A school up at Belleville, population about 3,000 at the crossroads of America. US 81 and 36. Very fine band. They can be a marching band and a concert band, Lou. I think the majority of the students are in the parade in one way or another. There's Carol Kucher at the right side of the band. Good sound. Good sound. Excellent band music. Now the float. Once upon a time, horses pulled Surreys in the Great Smoky Valley. Bethany home, Lindsborg, Kansas. Many of those people do speak Swedish. Many of those remember the very first Hyllningsfest, 1941, and the 48 years of Hyllningsfest. I know that there are many people in Bethany home who tell us many anecdotes of what has happened in previous Hyllningsfest. Once upon a time, horses pulled Surreys in the Great Smoky Valley. Now we need a Dodge Ram truck.
A few changes since 100 years ago.
A few changes since 100 plus years ago, and of course in the 48 years of Hyllningsfest, even a few changes. I wonder if Dan Webster's on there. I believe that he is our oldest resident of, I think, McPherson County, but at least for the Lindsborg area. And then we have pedal Surreys, the Wills grandkids, Bob and Lorraine Wills.